All right, well, good morning. Well, I should say good afternoon to everybody. Obviously, not the circumstances that we would like to be here before this Christmas holiday season, but I would like to share with you a couple bits of information that are real positive in regard to our athletic program. You know, this past fall, our volleyball team had a tremendous fall, winning a conference championship, going 35-2, having a National Player of the Year honor in Annie Wolf. You don't see that very often at any level. We had 5 All-Americans. 3 of them were on our volleyball program. We had an All-American cross-country athlete, and then, of course, our career tackle leader in Tyke Kozel. But in addition to that, we were able to hire some fantastic staff that I could not be more happy about. Josh Jorgensen joins us as our Senior Associate Athletic Director, and he will work closely with our newly hired Manny Reich as our Facility and Event Manager. And then we were able to hire a dynamite strength and conditioning coach in Steve Schultz from Hastings College. So we've got a lot of positive things going on in the athletic department that I could not move along without mentioning to each of you. So nonetheless, I understand we're here to talk specifically about what's going on with Loper football and some of the news that's happening. I will share with you that Coach Lamberson informed me last Wednesday that he had an opportunity to look at a position at Abilene Christian University in Texas. On Thursday and Friday, the two of us spent several hours talking about the opportunity and looked closely at his personal and professional situation, and I tried to give him as much advice and support as I possibly could. He and his wife Manny left on Sunday to go down to Abilene. They spent the day with the athletic director and the other administrators and newly named head coach Adam Dorrell, who was a friend of his and an individual that he worked with for several years at Northwest Missouri State. On Monday, Coach Dorrell was announced as the head football coach at Abilene Christian University, and Coach Lamberson was at the press conference, and so as we know, things kind of circulated from there with regard to people knowing that he was interested in this position. Throughout the entire process, Coach Lamberson and I stayed in constant communication via talking over the phone or text messaging. He stayed in communication with the players to the best of his ability, and most notably was late Monday night, early Tuesday morning, and he indicated to each of them that no decision had been made. Coach Lamberson and I met at 8 o'clock this morning and had a really good, really special 2 hours, something that I truly will never forget. I will hold dear to my heart for a very long period of time. We were very sad to see Coach Lamberson go. He became a trusted and valued colleague and friend, not only to myself, but to our coaches in the athletic department, to a lot of people that have worked intimately and closely with him, and to our student athletes. I know that this decision weighed really hard on him. It took him 7 days to come to this point. And our conversations, not only did it revolve around the business of the change and the transition, but it was at the core of who he is and ultimately his vision and his dream for where he wants to go. Coach Lamberson came to this job knowing that he had a lot of work to do, and he worked tirelessly at his job. And in doing this job, the thing that really stuck to me is he kept his focus and his vision on what is right. He always kept his focus on the student-athlete experience. He always kept his focus on professionalism and doing things right. And at the end of the day, he always kept his focus on the vision for a bigger and better Loper football program. And I applaud him on that, because that's not always difficult, especially when you go through your first year as 0-11 and your second year as 1-10. But as time moves along, I think it became evident to him that this was an opportunity he could not pass, that this was a chance for him to go to an institution and work with his friend, to be at Division I, to be in the hotbed of football and college athletics, and to be able to test his boundaries to the highest level. And in a lot of ways, it was synonymous with his role here as our head football coach, and that he had a vision that was bigger and better than any of us could ever imagine. After Josh and I finished our meeting, we went downstairs and met specifically with our assistant coaches. We had a very candid and direct dialogue about our future and where we're going and the process that we will take. We have a very tight window here, folks. We have between now and January 12th where we've got to find a new coach. On January 12th, we have official visits that are starting. We have probably 150 student athletes that will be coming to campus to visit our institution between January 12th and the end of January because National Signing Day is on February 1st. So for us, this is not just about finding a head football coach, but this is about getting ourselves positioned so that we can attract, recruit, get commitments, and sign the best class that we can in preparation for 2017. I've asked Jake Wilrick to step up and be a leader for the program. We don't have time to file for an interim leadership role as a temporary head coach, so he's going to take the reins and lead the current staff in their positions as such. In addition to communicating with the coaches, we also were in full communication with the student athletes. Coach Lamberson sent them a note that I saw after it was sent out, and as he always is, was a first-class gentleman and gave the players his parting words. About an hour after that, I sent a message to the student athletes and asked them to stay positive, to believe in the process, to know that we are here for them and we're here to support them, and know that we're going to keep them in in full communication as we move this process forward. So with that being said, I know we have 85 returning football players who are talented, ambitious, and ready. I truly believe that the foundation has been laid for us to be successful in the immediate and the long-term future. The program culture is phenomenally sound right now. We have a group of student athletes where their readiness is very high. We have a team of leaders, and it's not just our 13 leadership council members that we have communication with, but it's all 85 of those returners. So our goal now is to position ourselves and get us ready for the next step of Loper football, the next chapter and the new opportunity that somebody has to come in and take over for a program that I feel is on the upward side and moving in the right direction. So the focus here today is on the future of Loper football, and I could not be more excited about the opportunities that we have to take that step. Any questions from anybody?
I've seen a decent amount of anger, for lack of a better word, maybe shock, perhaps resentment from the players. What kind of a turnover are you expecting in terms of people deciding, I don't know if I want to be here anymore because of the way Josh left the program?
Well, it's understandable that they would feel this way. We know that individuals will go through a series of emotions, and so there'll come a point in time where they'll get to an objective mindset, and they'll be able to make clear decisions. I have told each of them in my message that number one, it's against NCAA rules for other coaches to talk to our student athletes. And number two is that we will not release any of our student athletes until they have had a chance to meet with our new head coach and make a decision about their future together. So we've been very transparent about that. We are also in the process of communicating with every one of the recruits that have potential decisions to make. And so we're going to honor the commitment that we've made to them and share with them that we were able to find an outstanding coach in Coach Lamberson, and we're going to find an outstanding coach in the next person. And so that's our mission and our vision as we move forward, and we know that and we respect the feelings of our current and future student athletes, but we're hopeful and confident that the right coach will come in for this program as we move it forward.
While we're on the topic of turnover, Ken Gordon already has resigned from the program as well. In terms of the current staff, who is staying on and where do we go moving forward with their positions?
Every one of the assistant coaches are intact right now and ready to go. I can't behoove anybody if they want to explore other opportunities and look elsewhere, but at the same time, they're fully engrossed in their jobs and trying to sustain the recruits that we have. They've really done an outstanding job of building their message and building that relationship with those student athletes so they trust them and they understand that this process will take a couple weeks and then they'll get a chance to analyze this with the new head coach in place. The assistants will all have a position or a role in our process here, as far as their position as an individual. They're going to have to, they're going to have to do their job now, and they're also going to have to be a part of the transition in interviewing with the new head coach. The new head coach and I will have significant and deep conversations about what we're going to do with every individual, because I care deeply about all those individuals that are in full-time positions with us. I also have to be extraordinarily mindful of the fact that we are, number one, in a state budget crisis right now. Number two, we're in a hiring freeze. And number three, we have to be mindful of the fact that these individuals have families and have lives that they need to live. So we need to be respectful of that. And so the balance for me will be to find an individual that can appreciate and respect what's going on in the state of Nebraska, but also give these guys every chance that they have to be able to be sustained or maintained in this program.
Have you been in contact with any other coaches already?
No. Out of respect for Coach Lamberson, I have not. I think that we needed to let the process take care of itself, and now we have our list and ready to go and get to work on that replacement process.
Who's on the list?
How do you personally feel? I mean, he was your guy, and then after 2 years now you got to start back over.
Well, first of all, let me share with you this. Coach Lamberson is, in my view, the golden child of the MIAA. He was a revered football player that did extraordinarily well, coached at several schools in the MIAA, and he was the hot commodity. And we established an outstanding partnership as we tried to build this together. As you would imagine, naturally, there's going to be that disappointment when somebody has another opportunity. But as you take a step back and look at it, he has a tremendous opportunity ahead of him. And so I can only wish him nothing but the best, and hope that he and Adam are very successful in their new endeavor.
Do you conduct the search yourself, or is it be a committee or outside help?
I have a few people on our staff that we've already assembled that will work intimately with me on the process, and then we've already been receiving emails left and right. So we have a good handle on it right now, and those individuals in our staff will keep it tight and concise. We'll move this thing forward quickly and swiftly, and then we'll be ready to announce something as soon as we have an individual that we're ready to zone in on. I have to work through a process with Chancellor Christensen and President Hank Bounds that will be respectful of the university's financial situation, and we'll be very careful to adhere to that. But we'll follow all the requirements that we have so that we can do that, but also find the right person in the right time for this program.
What are the qualities or some of the qualifications that this next coach must meet to be considered?
First and foremost, I want to be clear that Coach Lamberson was the right fit for this position when this job opened up 2 years ago. We have a different view of things now. Why? Because we have an outstanding foundation. We have a tremendous culture. This program is ready to take off. We need a proven, successful coach that can come in here and be ready to take the bull by the horn and move this thing forward. Somebody that understands the fundamentals of the game, that can teach it explicitly. Somebody who understands play calling and schemes. Somebody who knows how to get the best out of their student athletes, and in addition to that, and most importantly to me, is sustain the culture that we have. And so those are the qualities that we're looking for, and that we've addressed as our needs to take the next step.
You mentioned the hiring freeze. The new coach that comes in, how much of a say are they going to have in who the assistant coaches will be?
Well, that's a primary recruiting tool for me to use, is that they will have the ability to bring in a staff that they feel most comfortable with. So I will work with that. However, as I reminded the coaches downstairs, I was fortunate to be able to hire Lance Leipold as the head football coach at University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. And he retained the entire staff and went 14-1 and won the school's first ever national championship. On the flip side of it, Coach Lamberson retained only one person from the previous coaching staff. And so there's different trains of thought on this. But I will look at it really closely with with the assistance and advice of the chancellor so that we're making the right decision and that this coach understands that, we've got some good people in place. We really do. And our players trust the majority of these coaches in place. And so we're going to collectively put the plan together so that it works in the best interest of the new coach, but also in the best interest of the overall program.
Why do you believe this program is ready to take off after going 1-21 the last 2 years?
Well, the first year we went on 11, obviously there's some disappointment in that, but I was, you're ready to move on to year 2 and get some things moving. In year 2, I compartmentalized the season. I looked at the games that we knew were going to be a challenge, and that was against the teams that are in the top in the conference. And then I looked specifically at the teams that were in the middle of the pack, and I looked at the teams that were in the lower level. And quite frankly, in looking at those different compartments or different areas, and Josh and I shared this with one another candidly in the postseason review, I felt like there was a handful of games that we should have been more competitive in and potentially have gotten victories. I was very excited and thankful and proud of our performance against Missouri Western, Washburn, and Central Oklahoma. Those are middle of the pack schools. And so I was pleased with that. But then when you get to the upper echelon, we didn't perform very well against Northwest Missouri State, Emporia State, Pittsburgh State, Central Missouri. In fact, those games we were worse than the year before. So as we looked at it closer, it's realistic for us with the age of the student athletes in the program and the youthfulness of it. It's appropriate and reasonable for us to look at the season and say, 3 wins, 4 wins, yeah, those are the things that we thought were pretty attainable. But what I also look for, which is important to me, because I never want to put wins and losses on a person's evaluation criteria. To me, it's improvement from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. That's what I was looking for the most. And I know Josh was too. And so that's what led us to really do some fine tuning within the program that we had worked on, the last couple weeks. And so those things came to fruition as we were moving along. And then obviously the Adam Dorrell opportunity came up, and that sort of changed the whole perspective on things.
You mentioned Josh being kind of the golden boy of the MIAA, and around this area, and especially those associated with the program and boosters and stuff really took to Josh. How big of a loss in that respect is it losing Josh?
I think it's a big loss, but people will value him as a individual that held himself in high character and high esteem. Who's to say we can't find somebody else that's just like that? But I think people also grew a little weary of losing. And so at the same time, they want to see somebody that can come in here that can do both. And I'm mindful of that. I understand that dynamic. And so, we will do our very best to search high and wide to be able to find that person, because we owe it to our student athletes. I mean, we have some tremendous student athletes in this program right now. I'm really excited about them, and I'm looking forward to that day when we can announce our new head coach that we know will have the character that Josh exhibited, but also have the skills that we know they'll take this program to the next level.
Being it's the holidays, it's kind of an odd time of year. How soon do you hope to maybe have that next head coach in place?
Well, again, it goes back to the collaboration with the chancellor and the president. But with the January 11th looming very quickly, we're going to move as fast as we can. We've got a lot of things we'll have to do between now and then. But thankfully, we do have a little bit of a down period, so we can look at things closer and look at individuals closer while there's not a lot going on campus. Football coaches, as you know, are all the time. And so as a result, this vacation, myself and our staff will be all the time. So we'll be ready. We'll be ready to go, and we're excited about it.
Can you even offer a scholarship to a student athlete before you have a head coach named? I mean,
Oh, certainly. As a matter of fact, in our women's soccer program, we have a coaching change there, and we have 6 individuals that have scholarship offers. I called all of them, and 5 out of the 6 have continued to accept our offer and are going to sign on February 1st. So it's pretty normal. And the reason for that is I believe that we've been recruiting the best student athletes that are out there, in-state, out-of-state, the ones that qualify based on academic standards, and the ones that have the athletic ability to compete in the MIAA. So I'm entrusting that as we move forward with the football team.
close, since this was just 2 years ago, how close did you keep the list?
I just had to refresh the list a little bit and now fine tune it. But the interesting thing is you look back 2 years ago, a lot of those people have found jobs and have been elsewhere. Some have kind of resurfaced, but at the same time, there's ample of high quality, outstanding football coaches out there right now that are actively looking. And quite frankly, a lot of them want to be in the MIAA at University of Nebraska Kearney. And I'm really excited about the potential we have.
Paul, I talked about the anger with Coach Lamberson perhaps for leaving the program. The players were also kind of angry about the lack of communication. I don't know if this is airing live right now somewhere, but I got a message. We found out this news through Twitter first, and definitely were not kept updated constantly throughout, as Plinske said. The first message to the team as a whole was sent out at 11:15 from Lambeau and was on Twitter at 11 o'clock.
Correct, and I apologize to the players for that, because what had happened is Coach Lamberson and I met, and then we went down and met with the coaches. And we didn't get out of that meeting with the coaches till 10:50, and Josh was trying to write the letter as fast as he could. I had already instructed our staff to send out the letter at the news at 11 a.m., so we missed it by 15 minutes. And Josh called me, he says, Paul, I feel awful about that. And I said, sometimes those things happen. And so after that, I also sent my own message to each of them. So I know that they're concerned about that, and I apologize to them, and I'm sorry that they feel that way. I also think they're referring to the communication that they didn't get from Coach for the last couple days. He was in a tough spot, people. I mean, give me a break. This is social media world that if a person is out there, it's going to get spread all over the place. And there's no professional filter in any of the social media that comes out. And we need to understand that in this day and age, that people can throw anything they want out there and harm people's professional careers as a result. And it's not fair. It's not fair to put Coach Lamberson in that position, and it's also not fair to put our student athletes in that position. So let's all take a step back and understand that this is, that timing can't be perfect all the time. Things do occur and one step ahead of the other, but at the end of the day, we have to accept it, apologize, and move on.
You mentioned you met with him for about 2 hours. Kind of characterize what that conversation revolved around.
I'll keep that private, Dave. Thanks for asking.
How do you guard against, you're up against it here, how do you guard against not rushing here or maybe being in too much of a hurry and you don't get the right guy?
Well, one of the things I have in my favor is that I went through this process 2 years ago. 2 years ago I spent hours with people, and so I already had a good understanding of who's doing what and who's out there. The second part is I've decided, instead of doing it solo as I did 2 years ago, this time I'm going to include a couple other people just to keep it so that we have all eyes on deck, and we can really review it as closely as we can. And that's a real positive. There is the balancing act we have to take, whether rush to something or finding the right coach. I will definitely err on the side of finding the right coach first. And I think that the players trust me enough, I've been around the program enough, where they know that we're going to have their best interests in mind as we move forward.
The release said that you had made an extension offer to the coach. Can you take me or us through the timeline, if that was after this came about, and what that all involved and entailed?
Yeah, we felt it was important for us to put ourselves in a position where we could be competitive with Abilene Christian, not from a salary perspective, but from a contractual standpoint. I wanted Josh to know our support was not about wins and losses, but was about our belief in the culture that he was creating. And so that came on Monday. We wanted for him to feel like he had our support and that we had his back. And it was my hope of saying, Josh, we want to fight to keep you here. It was also my approach, and I shared this with Josh this morning, is that we needed to position ourselves for the future. So if Josh does leave, hey, now we got a chance to show the world that we do value our football coach and his staff in such a way that wins and losses are a part of the process, but the bigger picture is more important. How you treat players, how you treat other individuals, how you handle your budgets, how you deal with difficult times. the whole litany of issues that are surrounding a football coach are more than anyone can ever comprehend. And for me, it's the big picture approach. So I want to be able to be successful in recruiting a great coach to UNK. And that was part of the strategy there. So it was twofold. But more than anything, I want a coach to know that he had a place to come to if Abilene wasn't going to work out.
Josh, this was his first head coaching job. The next head coach, are you looking for someone that maybe has more head coaching experience?
Correct. Yeah, we I've been real successful with Coach Leipold at Whitewater, and who is now at the University of Buffalo, by the way, where he was an assistant coach, became a head coach. And Josh had done some outstanding things here and moving from the assistant coach to the head coaching role. But as I said earlier, somebody with a proven track record that's been in that seat and understands it. That's what this program needs right now.
Is there a level that experience and success needs to be at? Does it have to be the same level that UNK is, or can it come from a lower division?
Open-minded on all these variables. Just want somebody that has a heart for the student athletes, that has sat in that seat, that understands those tough decisions that need to be made, and can see a vision that's great for UNK. And I believe that there are people out there, and so they're going to have to be able to express that to me as we kind of move through the process.
Coaching staff that we have and Josh most had ties with the MIAA. Are you still looking at maybe trying to keep it in conference, someone that's familiar with the MIAA?
Well, we all know the MIAA is an incredible conference. From top to bottom, it's the best you're ever going to find, and then it's proven with the playoff success that the conference has had. But I'm open-minded. I think there are a lot of guys out there right now that have the skill set to be able to transition to UNK in the MIAA. I'm not so hung up on where they've come from and where they've been. I'm more so concerned about where they want to take this program and where we want to go.
With all of this, the hiring freeze, you're looking for a soccer coach, you've got a couple of programs that are looking for assistant coaches, now you need to get a new head football coach. Is there a priority? How do you get all this done to satisfy all of your programs?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was going to mention that when we were going to go on the air today, but we kind of postponed it till now. First of all, with women's soccer, we're excited. We are going to move forward in that program. We're just waiting for permission to do a release, but we feel like we have the individual that will bring program sustainability, help us sustain our recruits, and help us get ready for January, February training. With regard to some of the coaching changes that we've had recently, and the one with Coach Lamberson, I understand that's Division II. People have opportunities to move up and move on, and so that's the challenge and the beauty of our level is that we're going to have to go out and find people and hope that they can stay with us for an extended period of time. I believe that the day of coaches being at an institution or at a place for long periods of time is long gone. I think that especially in Division II, people are looking to advance, and quite frankly, I would hope that I could find a person that wants to advance. That's the beauty of the scenario with Coach Lamberson. He now gets to go to Division I. He's taking that step, and it's really a tribute to him and what he's been able to do. I mean, what other individual with his short term as a head coach to be able to jump to Division I without the credibility and the level of success he has? And that's the type of individual that I'm hoping that we can attract here at UNK. Somebody who has that bigger vision and that's ready to take this program to the next level. And then if they move on to the next one, that's great. It's more power to us.
You have a team in the conference that, at our level, that just hired the coach of the championship team from Northern Sun. Does that open the door for every coach in the country, in your opinion?
I'm not sure I understand your question, Buck.
Well, Lindenwood hired Sioux Falls coach.
Correct.
He's the championship coach in that conference.
Oh, correct. Okay.
That opens the door for everybody, every conference, across Division II. Are you looking at anybody and everybody?
Oh, okay. So, sorry, I'm not fully following you here. No, open-mindedness for an individual who sat in the head coaching seat is definitely the big variable here. Division III, NAIA, Division II, even Division I. Those are all traits. But to me, is the skill set that they got from those, what they learned from it, how they grew from it, where they were at, and so the coach who was moving from Sioux Falls to Lindenwood, and the coach who's just hired at Missouri Western, those guys have had some experiences, and that will help them and be successful. So it'll open up doors for us here to show that, and people do want to be here. They want to be in the MIAA and they want to be at UNK. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to attract those type of people.
Now, we beat around it, how hard was it to not have the football team on campus since it's break time and all the things that you have kind of said already about it,
Yeah.
how hard, plus by the time they report, you might already have a new head football coach.
Yeah, well, I told them today that we would keep the 13 members of the Leadership Council in our levels of communication, and that we'll inform them as we keep moving this process along. But having them off campus has been hard, so I hope that there's some understanding of that. So we apologize that, the interaction was very minimal, but if they were here, there would be team meetings and there'd be dialogue and there'd be all those types of things. So we're challenged by that. But at the same time, it also gives them a chance to reflect on their year here and reflect on the good and the bad times and understand that it's been a real positive experience for them, and they're looking forward to coming back in 2017 and see how great this thing can be.
Take one, two more? Otherwise we're good. Perfect.
Thank you, folks. Have a great day. Happy holidays.